Good morning and welcome to Ask Mason, our show where I take your questions, your concerns, and I try to answer those as best I can. I've said before that anytime you send something in, a question or a comment or ask me, I'll never use your name. So you can always know that you can ask whatever question. We'll do our very best to answer that. I've got two things this morning I want to talk about, and just a couple of announcements. But the first one is at our last study session, this past commission meeting, you heard Mike Cooper talking about DCIP.
They have two projects moving forward for some form of funding, whether it's through DCIP or the state or other things that we...
DCIP, and we use that term over and over. Well, this week, I got asked multiple times, what is DCIP? Our apologies. Sometimes we don't always take time to explain that, but DCIP is just the Defense Community Infrastructure Program. So what is that and why do we use it? Well, let me back up 30 years, almost 30 years now. There was a thing called BRAC, and we've talked about that before on this show. BRAC was Base Realignment Commission, and that's where the military went in, the government did, and said, hey, we have a lot of bases. Maybe we don't need all of those. Let's combine some of those. And they did an evaluation of every base in the United States out there, and they figured out a way to consolidate some of those. Now, that was good if your community was getting another wing from another base that was closing down. But if your base was the one that was going to close, that was horrible for a community economically. So we got caught off guard, and we really weren't prepared for that. And the first round of BRAC, and what happened was we had some community leaders, including Mike Cooper, that had the foresight to put together the VDA, the Advanced Development Authority, which original members were people that could make some things happen in town. And they went in there and they figured out what was it that we lacked as a base, and they made that happen in literally about 30 to 60 days. Purchasing land to extend the runway and doing several things on housing. So all that being said, that come around to help offset BRAC. We've had two rounds of that. Now then, Vance Air Force Base, when they score us, we're at one of the top bases in the United States. So not to say that we could not ever lose our base, and I would never want to say that, but we are now not caught flat-footed. We get out ahead of that. So that brings me back to DCIP. DCIP was something that Mike Cooper had actually even come up with, where we meet with the base, and the city manager, Mike Cooper, and myself have been meeting with the base commander and his team over the last several weeks on trying to identify projects that they need to help the quality of base, quality of life out on base. Now, two things they've come up with that we'll work on that, and then Mike Cooper will go to Washington, D.C., work with our legislative delegation, and try to get dollars to pay for these projects. But the two things we were talking about that involved DCIP at the study session was they need redundancy. Now, redundancy means several different things. In this case, electrical redundancy. If power goes out, how can we keep power to that base so that they can fly their missions no matter what the situation? And so one of the things we're looking at right now is working with OG&E to make sure that there's an additional 65 million megawatt, I'll get that quantity wrong, power that goes out to the base so that they've got multiple switching capabilities. If power goes down at their substation, they can literally flip a switch and they are still powered up. So that's one of the DCIP projects that we're working on for this next year. The other one is water redundancy. And we have a pipeline that comes out of the water tower at Meadow Lake, goes to the west and then down Cleveland and onto the base. Now, they have changed out all their cast iron water lines out on base. The government has done that. But that line that runs from Meadow Lake all the way down to the base is a 10-inch cast iron line, which there's nothing wrong with that other than cast iron reacts negatively to chlorine. And it's important that we put chlorine in water to purify it. And so what's happening right now is when it leaves our plant, has plenty of chlorine in it. When it gets out to the base, after that 1.5 miles or 1.25 miles, it causes, that cast iron causes that chlorine level to go down. Now, it's still fine. It's still within the parameters that it needs to be, but it's too close. And we want to change that. The base is having to add a lot of chlorine to it to bring that back up. That line needs to be changed out. So that is the other redundancy that we're working to spend our DCIP money that we will be applying for. So Defense Community Infrastructure Project is DCIP. For those people that don't know what that is, I didn't either until I got involved with being part of the city. So with that being said, it's something that ultimately helps us make our base better and make sure that whenever BRAC comes around again, the Base Realignment Commission, to decide which bases to close, which to keep open, that we continue to keep Vance at the top of one of the best bases out there, and we are right now. So that's why we have DCIP. The other thing I wanted to mention was the on the study session, and I got this question multiple times, and I don't think it's going to be a big deal, but you saw where we have requested a study session. We did that, and the commissioners are looking at all the data right now on raising our solid waste rates, raising those by $2. I think right now our rate is $14 per month to pick up your trash can and haul that off, to take that up by $2 to $16. Now, I fully understand that there are people out there that struggle every single week just to buy groceries, especially in this economy right now. However, the city struggles also. One of our largest expenditures is our solid waste. And we showed some examples at the study session last week that ever since COVID, and I don't fully understand this, I have my own theories, but everything has gone up dramatically. I think for a trash truck, one of the big trash trucks that you see prior to COVID, we were paying, I don't know, I'll get it wrong, $250,000 or $270,000, which still seems like a lot of money for a truck. But it's a specialized truck that has to be rigged up to fit the needs that we need it to do. And with that being said, after COVID, those trucks are now over $350,000. So they've gone up $100,000 just because. Now, I don't know if that's because of the parts or whatever it happens to be, but they're expensive. Everything's more expensive now. And we have not raised rates in over 12 years, which I think that in itself is something that we need to look at and make sure we don't wait another 12 years. You know, people can go, well, that was good that we didn't wait 12 years. The problem is when you don't collect enough revenue to service those trucks as you need to purchase new trucks as we need to, because we sell those trucks later on, and the value of those go down the more miles, the more service that gets put on those trucks. So we need to be able to rotate those out in a way that we don't have so much repair. And then also, we've raised the hourly wage of those people that work or that drive those trucks. We need to do that because it helps with our retention. We don't have that turnover all the time. We keep drivers, and that's what we want to do. Get that up so that that's a livable wage, and we can have employees that stay for long periods of time. So I think that's just something that we're going to have to do. Also, what I'm requesting is not only do we take the $2 rate increase, but we put some kind of an increment increase in there that's automatic, just like on our water, the cost of our water, so that every year, every 2 years, that will go up a percentage so that that will stay up with that cost. I don't think that's unreasonable. If you look at all of the other communities, not all of them, but a good portion of those city communities, we're at the very bottom on what our solid waste cost. So we've got to bring that up to where it's more sustainable. I think that's something that you'll see happen. Nobody likes rate increase, but they also don't like it when we can't pick up your trash because we don't have enough trucks to do that. So those are the two things I wanted to mention that I'd been asked a lot of questions this week about. What I want to leave you with today are a couple things that have happened and are coming up that I think are very, very important. 2 weeks ago, I mentioned that Commissioner Roberts had suggested that we have a cleanup session at Government Springs Park, that had a lot of trash down there, and try to convince people, try to encourage people, not convince them. If you want nice parks, show up and help clean some of that up. And I saw some comments online that said, well, we should have people that do that. Well, we should, but we have a lot of parks. We never have enough employees because they're busy doing all the other things that they have to do throughout the week. And if we want a beautiful city, we have to work on that. So that happened last Saturday. We had right at 50 people show up to help clean up that park. We had that cleaned up so quickly, which I will also say was not as dirty as I had anticipated based on what I'd read online. So I should have known better, but we had that cleaned up so quickly that we were able to go down the canal right there, the drainage area, underneath the overpass, the drainage ditch that goes underneath 412, cleaned all that up and worked on down towards the south, down towards the football fields. So it was amazing just how much 50 people can get cleaned up in 2 hours, 2 hours and 15 minutes. To all those people that showed up, thank you. Thank you for wanting to make your community better. I think we'll probably have some more of those. Thank you to Commissioner Roberts for actually making that happen, setting a time and a date and encouraging people to get out there and do that. Next time, let's have 100 people show up. We're a town of almost 53,000 people. If you want your community to look nice for other folks and for your children, show up and help. And then the last thing I'll say about that, and then I want to move on, is if you're one of those people throwing all that trash down on the ground, throwing those cigarette butts down, clean up after yourself. I'm not your mother. The commission's not your mother. Pick your stuff up, right? There's trash cans around. Be responsible for that. Don't throw that trash down. So thank you for that. A couple other things that are coming up. We have the State of the City address that will be coming up on February the 7th at 11:30. That's at the Stride Ballroom, the big facility, the big ballroom. We intend to have about 300 people there this year. I want to remind you, there's no charge for that, and we feed you. So if you have a group, if you're an organization, call the city communications department right now and get a table reserved for you and your team and come see what's going on in the city. there's going to be some challenges that we want to throw out there and encourage people to take part in. And I think you'll like it. Cost you nothing to show up, but we'll give you true facts so that you don't have to go to Facebook and some of those sites to try to get your information. We'll tell you the truth about what's going on in the city and what we see for the future. February the 7th, 11:30 at the Stride Bank Center downtown. Free to the public. Please show up. The last thing I want to mention, then I'll close out today, is this Friday, October the 25th, is the Chili Cookoff. That is the big event for United Way. Man, that is a fun event. If you've never been to that, there are all kinds of different recipes down there where they've made chili, brought it in. It is a fun event to show up. I don't know how much the ticket cost is. It's not very much. And I assure you, you will not leave without getting plenty of chili. So show up for that. It's a good cause. We just need lots of people showing up. Show up and be a part of that. And man, if you like chili, it's everything from the hottest chili you can possibly have to all different types. So there's some of it they actually put peanut butter in, believe it or not. So show up. I'll be one of those judges. I can't wait to do that. That's a fun event to be at. This Friday, October the 25th. So a lot of stuff going on in our community, a lot of great stuff. But if you have any questions, any concerns about anything that we're doing, make sure you reach out to askmason@enid.org, and I promise you I will do my very best to either call you back or answer your question on our show. So thank you so much. Thank you for everything that you do in our community, and we'll talk soon.